Help me to love, ah, Kuan Yin.
Bienvenidas y bienvenidos a la era de las diosas, esta vez con una invitada muy especial que ya estuvo con nosotras en programas anteriores, Anique Radiant Heart, una hermosísima sacerdotisa de la diosa, cantante sagrada. Welcome, Anique. It's a very
Oh,
pleasure for me to have you again in my program. So,
oh, Sandra, how beautiful to see you again. It's been a long time, and I'm so happy to be here.
and especially in, because you have beautiful news to share with the people. So, well, when I saw you, I think it was last year in China. I thought, what amazing! You have to lead us to a travel, to a sacred travel to China, and you responded me, yes. I'm. So you were organizing that. So can you tell us more about this amazing travel?
Mm. Well, actually, it was early this year, and in March of this year, 2025. And I guess my connection with China has been very, very long time because I have a son well, he's 56 now. But when he was young and in high school, he was very, very interested in China. And as it happened, I lived in Chinatown in the city of Sydney. This is many, many, many years ago. You couldn't live in Sydney today. You'd have to be a billionaire. But I lived in Chinatown in an old warehouse that had been renovated for housing. And so I was walking down to Chinatown every day to do some shopping, to have a coffee, whatever it is. And so I formed a friendship with one of the shopkeepers, little old man, Chinese man, and he had a beautiful Kuan Yin in the window. And my love affair with Kuan Yin actually began then because, of course, I'd heard of her because I'd been walking already with the goddess for a few years. And I loved her. I loved that she was the goddess of love and compassion and all those beautiful soft things, those yin things, those woman things. And so I already had a very warm kind of feeling about her. But seeing her every day in that window in this beautiful shrine that this little man had built, it was amazing. It had an impact on me. And one day I said to him, will you sell that? She's so beautiful. And he said, no, no, that's my shrine. But I've got one exactly like her in the storeroom if you want to buy her. And I said, oh, how much is it? And he said, oh, at the time, again, this is a long time ago, it was over $500, which now would be $5,000, I suppose. And I said, oh gosh, that's too much money for me, too much money for me. And he said, well, you've been coming here to my shop a long time and I trust you and you come in every Friday. So how much money have you got to spare in your wallet now? And I think I had about 80 or $90. And he said, well, give me that. And every time you come in, you give me whatever you've got left in your wallet that you can spare until you pay her off. So I took her home. I couldn't believe how lucky I was. I took her home and set up my very first ever altar and began to, without even being aware of it, began my own sacred practice around her energy and what she was about, what I'd studied about and so on about her. So I've had a long relationship with her. And my son has also had a long relationship with China because he's a diplomat. And when he was in high school, he did an exchange program with a student from China. He went to China, the student came to Australia, and he learnt both Mandarin and Cantonese. So the Department of Foreign Affairs here that he worked for, he had a meteoric rise within the whole diplomacy arena. And he'd been based in China for quite a while. And his tenure there in China was going to end. So I thought, now's the time to go to China. And of course, because he was based there, to visit him, to see where he was living and so on. I thought, I can't go to China without seeing Kuan Yin. I've got to see Kuan Yin. So I asked my son to recommend a very lovely young man. His name is Tom, so I'll refer to him as Tom. And I said to him, I want to see the Kuan Yin temples. Lo and behold, which is the way of Kuan Yin, of course, he said, why? Why so much the Kuan Yin temples? And I said, because I love her. I'm a devotee of hers. And he said, no. I said, yes. He said his mother had been a devotee of Kuan Yin ever since he could remember. So the link was there. And I knew that this was the right man. The right man had been sent to me by Kuan Yin. And so he crafted those. I was there for a week. He and a friend of his in Shanghai crafted the journey for me. And I went on that journey finding Kuan Yin. And honestly, Sandra, it was the most extraordinary experience that I've had for a long, long time. Um, because the temples are alive. And she is still worshipped, with all the people's hearts. I mean, the Cultural Revolution, the Communist Party tried very hard, to stamp out the people's devotion to the goddess, to Buddhism. But she's so strong. She's so revered all around the world, not just in China, that she lives really strongly. And there's just no way that her presence and what she stands for and what she brings to the people, there's no way that that isn't just palpable with life. Because not only is she worshipped there, she's worshipped all around the world. So we have the tour. And I sent you all the information. You can share it with your people. Basically, we're going to spend the beginning of the tour in Beijing, because that gives us access to what I call the more historical part of the tour. So that's the Great Wall of China, uh, Tiananmen Square, Temple of Heaven, the Summer Palace, all those things that you can't not go to the Great Wall if you go to China. There are certain things that must be visited, even though they're not necessarily, within the orbit of goddess worship. You can't go and not see those places. And I mean, the Summer Palace and the Temple of Heaven is absolutely amazing and beautiful, so beautiful. And China itself, the land, the land there is just, it's magical. And the trees and so on, they're not like any other trees you see anywhere else. You wouldn't see them in Europe, you don't see them in Australia, you wouldn't see them in Argentina. It's everything is different. The birds, colors, the colors of the leaves, the color of the light. Um, it's just China is magical. And then of course there's the food. I came back quite a bit chubbier. I still haven't lost the weight. The food is just magnificent. And cheap. It's cheap. I mean, the conversion rate for the dollar is not terribly good, but the food is incredibly cheap. So that side of it is great. The shopping, really, really cheap. All those aspects. What's expensive is things like hotels. The hotels are really expensive. Taxis, anything like that where people are actually working, that becomes expensive. But apart from that, it's one of the more affordable tours that I run. So that's how the tour was born. And I had some amazing experiences there.
That's amazing, and that's true that there is an alive worship to Kuan Yin in all over the world. And I noticed many years ago, also going to the Chinatown in Buenos Aires, and yes, and watching the Kuan Yin images in the stores and the same devotion. So, so how much is it? No. This is ours. You can buy that, but we have the many others, and also in one of the stores. Anytime I was naming Kuan Yin, the woman in the shop, so
Yeah.
gave a
Yes.
reverence, and I think what an amazing people, and yes, my first connection with Kuan Yin, I don't remember when it was because I was I did an initiation in the magnified healing that is a channelized system. It's like Reiki, but it was directly given by Kuan Yin, and it's an amazing energy. So I think
Mm.
that was more powerful for me to immerse in her energies, that they are
Yes,
absolutely beautiful and healing.
yes.
And there are many,
Oh, yeah.
many people in Argentina that know Kuan Yin and love her. So I
Mm.
think, well, it's amazing if we can join you in this pilgrimage
Mm.
that is
Well, there's something actually really special too that's happening with this tour that I doubt anybody else will be able to manage. But I love, as you know, to sing whenever I go to any kind of church or temple. Doesn't matter what denomination it is or who is worshipped or what is worshipped there. I love to sing in churches and temples. Most of the tours that I go on, like say in Egypt, it's not allowed. In Crete, it's not allowed. You're not allowed to. But in China, they are so moved by it. So the first time I did it, I was in a temple and the people were there doing their worship and so on. And I just stood in front and I was singing and tears were running down my face and my eyes were closed, and I was singing and with all my heart because I felt free. And also it felt to me like the goddess was saying in my heart, I've waited so long for you to come. Oh, I'm getting emotional. I've waited so long for you to come and sing here in my land, in my temple. And so when I finished and I opened my eyes, the people around me some of them were kneeling on the floor with their heads down, others were just doing it. They just loved it so much. And so I had an idea. And in one particular temple, I thought if we could get private entry, just us, after they finish, because in China, the temples close to the public at 4. They have a service at around about 2:33, and then the temple closes for the day. And so I thought to myself, if we could get a free entry into a temple, then I can do a ceremony for the people who come. We can do a ceremony together to get her blessing. So I talked with Tom, who's the guide, and this is now we're already in Shanghai now, at this time. The Shanghai temples are amazing. Shanghai is the city of Kuan Yin temples. Beijing has one or two, but Shanghai, that's the place. So I said to Tom my idea, what I'd like to do. And he said, I think my brother knows priest of a temple in so and so place. I'll talk to him and see if that's a possibility. Lo and behold, again, Kuan Yin, by her grace, he spoke to his brother spoke to the priest, and that was that day, that night. And the next day we went to this temple, Sandra. And this priest, I realized at the end that he actually understood English, but he didn't say that he understood English. I think he just wanted to see, who is this person, because he's this strange old white woman, the only white woman in any of these temples. Not many Westerners go. So anyway, he started to show us around the temple, and I was saying to Tom, could you please translate this and so on and so forth. But I guess what was happening is that he wasn't translating exactly what I was saying, but I could see that the priest was listening to me. And so he said, you know a lot about Kuan Yin, he says through the guide. Yeah, I said, yes, I love her. I love her. Because he saw I was crying already. No sooner had he taken us to one of the beautiful shrines, and there she was with her sweet, beautiful face. And I had tears, and so I explained everything, about uh, my love for her. And he said, well, I will take you somewhere special. Sandra, he took us into the Holy of Holies of the priests. In other words, you know, the inner sanctum where nobody goes. And there was the most divine Kuan Yin there. Anyway, so many more experiences, which I will share when we're actually on the tour. But at the end of it, I said in English, I have a request to make. If it's appropriate, you know, please, I hope I'm not being insulting in my request or whatever, but it would be wonderful if I could bring a group here and we could have a private access to the big shrine where we can do a ceremony to receive her blessings. He listened to me, and he said back to Tom, "Well, we shall see at the end." So I asked him if we could come so that we could do a beautiful ceremony, receive a blessing, and so on. And he said, well, I'll let you know at the end. So we were just at the end there, the last place, and he said, come, I want to show you something. So he takes me outside to the back of that big place. And what do I see there? This beautiful glass, sort of like a little gazebo. Do you know what a gazebo is? Like an outside structure made of glass. And inside there's this flame. Of course, they had the eternal flame, her eternal flame there. And he said, what is this? And I said, this is the eternal flame of Kuan Yin, her violet light. And I said, I've written a song to it, and I sang the song for him. And he got tears in his eyes. And he said, all right, you can have your answer. You can come. You can come for a private. He was testing me. He wanted to see whether I was true, whether it was just not one of these tourists that says, oh, yes, I love Kuan Yin, take a picture, I've been here, you know, that sort of thing. He wanted to see whether I was true, because to allow that is a big deal, very big deal. So we have that at that particular temple, which is a temple I normally would not have taken people to, because it's an hour and a half drive out of the city, which makes it like a half day at least. You have to go for the half day, which is a lot, you know, when you're trying to fit in a lot in as few days as possible. So we have private entry to that amazing temple, and we will do a beautiful blessing ceremony. And I'll put it towards the beginning, as close to the beginning of the tour as I can, so that we carry that beautiful blessing with us everywhere we go. And I've got some lovely things planned to surprise us.
I can't wait to go, because and I also I can feel, you know, your meeting with Kuan Yin was when you was very young. And do you think you recognize her from a past life?
Oh, absolutely. Because if you were to see my family, you'd say Anique was adopted. I mean, of course I wasn't, but I have my eyes. I have sometimes when I'm in the evening, particularly when I'm sort of close to going to sleep and so on, I look at myself in the mirror and I look quite Chinese. I mean, there's something there in me. I don't know what it is. And I feel that that has come through from a past life. I've definitely, I just knew intuitively what to do at the temples. Nobody ever taught me that. I mean, the very first Kuan Yin temple I ever went to, which was not in China, I think it was when I first ever went to Thailand. I just knew what to do. I didn't I didn't need to be taught. And then when my son was based in China the last time, before this time, it was many years ago, um, he took me to Taiwan. He took me to a big Kuan Yin temple in Taiwan. And I was doing my practice, and the little monk that was looking after the temple asked my son, you know, in Chinese, you know, what's your mother doing? What is this? And he explained about it, and the monk said, uh, who taught you? And I said, nobody taught me. This is what I feel I need to do. And he said, this is the practice we use, not exactly the same, but certainly it's got the echoes of the ancient Kuan Yin practice. So I know that I brought it through from a past life, if it's not the last one, a reasonably recent one too, because I can feel it. I can feel it in my being when I'm there. When I step into those temples, it's like, oh wow, I can feel it in every cell of my body. And they're so powerful. And they're so beautiful. I mean, one of them had 8 different halls, like there was the main huge hall, and then there were on either side, leading up to it, like on either side of the alleyway that led up to it, there were 4 more on each side, 8 more temples, all these amazing statues and amazing flowers. People bring flowers from the fields all day. All day they're refreshing the flowers. It's stunning. The whole experience is stunning.
That's amazing. And well, Kuan Yin, she's the goddess of compassion, and she's a very her presence is very, very powerful, and we need to contact her in these dark times. So I think we as priestesses have, we listen her calling to us, and I think, well, you also lead sacred travels to Egypt, and the goddess. Uh,
Hathor and Isis, Sekhmet in Egypt.
yes, and in Crete, the priestess. The priestess meeting you are celebrating in Crete, so
Mm.
you are remembering in this lifetime your previous incarnations as a priestess. I feel.
Oh, totally, totally. And with Crete, it was visceral as well. With Crete, when I first went to Crete about 27 years ago now, I'm 78, and I know I was already past 50 because I stopped bleeding at around about 51, I think. Anyway, I went to Crete, and when I stepped off the plane and onto the land, I felt I started to bleed. I, I, I hadn't bled for a couple of years, but just being back there had such an impact on my energetic body, particularly around the womb chakra, that I started to bleed. And it wasn't just a little bit, it was a big blood, as if I was a young woman again. And I thought, whoa, okay, there's something here. There's something here. Because I had no idea about my ancestry. I don't know if you know, but I had my DNA tested a couple of years ago because I was curious about. I knew that there would be a lot in the Middle East because I was born there. I was born in Egypt. So I knew there'd be a lot there. But then what came in, which was surprising, was Crete and Anatolia. So I have ancestry in Crete, in Egypt, and in Turkey, in Anatolia, in all of those 3 places. So that is why when I go to these places, and the same thing happened when I went to Turkey, my body tells me, my physical body translates what my energetic bodies, aren't getting my attention. Sometimes I don't pay attention to my energetic body. So my physical body gives me the signal, okay. So I knew then with Crete. So I know but Crete is a lot older. In fact, the Crete past lives, whatever I was meant to do this life that was left over from the Crete past life, that's passing away now. I can feel it. And what I need to do with China now is really coming up because I'll send you some pictures too, because you could maybe use them if you want to. I've rededicated, when I came back from China, I rededicated the main altar in my temple here, which is at the back of my home. I rededicated that altar to Kuan Yin, and to help with the tour, to help with the trainings and the teachings that I want to do. And it's beautiful. So I'll send it to you because I have many Kuan Yins.
Yes, and I remember in the flyers and in your website about the goddess meeting in Malibu and in California. The Kuan Yin is in the center. Is she is in the
Yes.
middle of the all the communications you do is with her in the center,
Mm, mm.
and in the altars. So I admire the figures of Kuan Yin in the in all the altars that we made at the meetings. So what powerful. And I think, yes, it's a call to all the well, as you sing in your song, we are the priestesses.
We are the priestesses of old, and we are remembering. Yes, we are. It's wonderful, Sandra. When I started this work, I didn't really know what I was doing. I was following a calling, as you quite rightly said. It's always been like that from the very beginning when the goddess first stepped forward, within my reality, and placed me squarely in her presence. I've just been following her guidance, basically. I hear her talk to me. I hear as if she's talking, as if she lives in my heart chakra, and she talks to me and she says, I want you to do this, and I want you to do that, and I'll send you the resources and you'll get the information. And it comes. It has, that's been the way for me all the way along. It's just following her guidance. And when I first started, there weren't many doing it at all. And now, wow. It is so amazing to see, to know that this work goes on, even if it isn't necessarily mine. Although I'm still very strongly praying Goddess to send me an apprentice so that I can hand it all on. But it's just so encouraging to see so many of the young ones now. It makes my heart sing.
Yes.
And
And
I want to say that this is why it's important. I just want to sidestep for a moment and talk about the convocation in Crete, which will be the third one next year, 2026. The convocation is for priestesses from all over the world to come and share their work. And this third one that's coming up next year in 2026 will be the last one that I will be doing. But that convocation is so important because it's a chance for the younger women to meet some of the older ones. Like most of the women are the women that are around about my age, say like Kathy, we're the same age. I don't know. The elders, elders are getting old. We're getting to that point where, we're grateful to wake up every morning. I mean, I'm 78. That's still considered young. I still consider myself young. But, my friend in Melbourne, Tricia Zerom, she's 80 now. And, I can see her fading. How long is she going to be around? How long is Kathy going to be around? How long am I going to be around? And it's such an opportunity for the young women to just come and sit with us. When I was a young woman, I was starving for the old women. Everywhere I went, I'd be saying, where are the elders? Where are the old women? I just want to sit at their feet and to gather the pearls that drop, from their lips that just weren't around then. Well, we are around now. And so I'm saying to the young women, come and sit with us. Let us tell you our stories so that you know what the lineage is all about. So you find out about our legacy. I mean, how many of the young women now even know my music? It breaks my heart to think that maybe after I pass, nobody will know my music. So it's so important. I just want to take this opportunity to speak from the heart to the young women and come and meet us. We want to meet you.
and do you think maybe it's not the last convocation, because maybe the younger women can take the the flame and do the next convocations, so you can go, but not working so hard, just enjoying.
Mm,
But you enjoy your priestess work, I know, but it's different. You be more relaxed, and I think it would be great if younger women can feel the call to continue this beautiful work you started to do. And yes, I think what important is also to be an inspiration for other women that are conscious about they are getting older, but they are not feeling the same. They don't feel I'm falling, and people is not recognizing, and it's not true, because I think it's very important to have the knowledge of our elders, and it's very important to um, rehab re how is restore the dignity of the elders. the
Oh,
we need the wisdom, especially in this time of ignorance that is amazing.
yes,
It's
yes.
pandemic. The ignorance is a pandemic, and
Mm,
I think we need to be very, very strong, and not to give in in our purpose, and to feel connected and inspired by each other. So I think it's very important if more people can feel the call, and just follow the heart.
that's it. That's it. Yeah.
And do you feel, because, well, I find a lot of similarities with you, because I was a singer. I used to be a jazz singer some time ago, and I'm not a musician, because I don't study music, but I feel music was a sacred connection. So, and especially jazz, I don't know why, because jazz is a very sad music. It's a very strong, it's deeply emotional, and it has a lot of suffering in the music. But at the same time, it's a very high connection. I feel a divine connection with music, and the possibility to to make your own music, improvising with musicians. And I think that's amazing. So I could do it, and not knowing, not reading music, and I think it's a connection. So do you feel the same, that music could be the door to the sacred, mm, connection?
Mm.
How do you feel that?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because when we sing, we engage the right brain. When we talk, like we're doing now, we're mostly engaging the left brain because there is an intention about what we're going to talk about. There are certain points that need to be put across. There's a communication of some idea or thought, or planning, or that's going on. So we're engaging the left brain. When we sing, particularly when we chant, so you're not even thinking about words or anything, you know the chant so well, you just close your eyes and you chant. We're engaging the right brain very, very deeply. And as you know, the right brain is the link to the divine. We link through the right brain. To have a balance between the left brain and the right brain is a good thing, especially when we're younger, because there's things that need to be done, in the world. But as we get older, we become more right brain, which means that we're not so concerned with the doing, we're more concerned with the being. And singing and chanting drops us into that state automatically. Now, when we also are conscious and we know that it's happening, it's incredibly powerful. But it's still powerful even if the person is not conscious and they don't realize what's happening while they're singing or chanting. It's still very powerful in opening up the heart chakra, which has to happen because we live in a world that encourages that left brain activity. It means that we're not stimulating the heart chakra as much as if the brain was more balanced and both sides were sparking, as they say. When they look at the brain through the equipment and so on, they see how it functions, through the sparking of the electricity. So it's a very interesting and complex subject that you've brought up, but it's something I'm very interested in, and I totally agree with you that I think music, particularly chanting, is a portal to the divine through the heart center.
And I think, especially black music, it was a way. I think not to survive, but to transcend the suffering. No, so
Yes.
when they were working as slaves in the in the land, so they were singing and they were together. They were feeling together and connecting in another levels of consciousness and other levels of reality. So you can transcend suffering. And I think
Mm,
it's not a question of surviving. It's more than that. I think it's
yes.
the conscious to be, well, I can be a slave, but I'm more than this. So I'm more than a human being. So I divine. So I think music connect us. And also there is people used to say, oh, you can't sing, so don't sing because you are out of tune. So, and I think, well, that's not true. Because all the people can sing, and because I think it's a matter of connection. And when you are singing in a group and in a very spiritual connection, the melody, you can create melodies and be a channel to to the music. So I think in your travels that that will be amazing.
Oh, for sure. That's one thing you can be sure of. If you travel with me, you'll be singing or listening to lots of singing.
Yes, and be inspired to do that, and not feel sad, and forget all the people say to you, no, 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 you can't sing, you don't have a good ear to do that. But it's
Mm,
a lie. So it's a
yeah.
question of be connected and feel and
Mm,
express the
mm.
feeling. And when is the singing is in a group, I think it's very powerful, and it can
Oh,
change the world.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And another really important part of singing is the breath.
Oh,
Because we breathe so shallowly, normally very shallow. But to sing, you've got to breathe, so it's very important, all these spiritual traditions where they chant for hours in the morning, chant for hours in the evening. It's about rebreathing the body too, and the breath is sacred, as we know. So it's so multifaceted, honestly, Sandra. It's a wonderful subject.
great. So Anique, I feel very grateful because you are here sharing with us all your beautiful plans. So we invite all the people that are listening to us to join the pilgrimage to China or to Egypt or to Crete. Because they are very powerful experiences. And well, the news are that I'm for sure joining you, so I can be a translator for Spanish speakers. So if there are people that can speak English, not mentioning Chinese, but so you don't miss anything because I'm going to translate. So um, I think it will be great if more Spanish speakers can join to these experiences, because I think unforgettable as the song.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
So with
Thank you so much for interviewing me, Sandra. It's very lovely of you. I appreciate it.
thank you. So it's not the first time you are here in my program, and not the last time, because we are going to talk more about these expeditions. And if some people have questions to do so we can collect them and to do another interview and be more specific in anything they can, any doubts they have or any questions. So I think it will be great to have your presence with us again. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. Blessings of Kuan Yin on you.
Blessings.
Help me to love all